Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for March 4th, 2022. I'm Benji Fisher, moderating and sharing my screen. And also present at the meeting are Andre Pedrosa, Antonia, Cristina Chumias, Guillermo Rabelo, Marina, Ralph Kohler, Tiago. Oh, Tiago, you seem to have joined twice, unless there are perhaps two Tiagos?
No, it's my first time here.
Oh, welcome. So I think maybe there are two Tiagos. Oh, and Thomas Howell just joined. So let's start with this issue that I've been wanting to bring up for a few weeks. It's issue number 2381293. And the issue is actions reordering on views bulk forms. I have the site running and in a shareable form. Let me get the home link, and I can paste that into the Zoom chat. So feel free to look at this site. You can log in as admin. Lowercase a, thank you very much, Zoom. And it's a pretty simple request, I think, that's been open for a long time, since 2014. And if you look at the page admin content, this is a fresh install of the Umami demo profile. So I have some content here that some of you may recognize. The issue is about the bulk operations. So there are various operations such as publish and unpublish, make content sticky or unsticky, promote it to the front page. And you can, for example, select one of those actions, select a few of the items you'd like to promote to the front page, click apply. And those items will now be promoted to the front page, which doesn't show up in this list. And depending on how the front page actually works, we're probably not using the default front page view. That may or may not make any change. But anyway, I've changed several items at once. Now, on this side, I've already applied the patch. So what you don't see is in a standard Drupal install, the default selected item would be delete content. And if you select everything and then click apply selected items without noticing that that you've kept the default of delete content, then you've done a pretty destructive operation on your site. And so this issue is about changing that. And if I do a force reload of the page, it comes back. And the default operation is now make content sticky. So any questions before I go on?
Well, my question, I think you already are going to answer, is the proposed solution, because as you explained, I agree that I've read that the issue, and having delete as the default option is it's really a bad issue. So my question is, did you came up with this order, or what is the how do I say?
Okay, this order of items.
Yeah, what is the criteria for the new order?
That's a good question. First, let me mention Antonia is posting in the chat that she's actually had users accidentally click apply, this button, when they meant to click filter, and that deletes content. So yeah, this is not just a theoretical problem. This is something that actually happens to people. So yeah, well, that's a good question. I don't particularly like this order, and I don't think it's been discussed on the issue. So in a few minutes, let me remove the patch and see what the default Drupal gives us. And I think the default sort of groups the opposites together. So published content and unpublished content should be together. Promote to front page and remove from front page, those should be grouped together. Sticky and unsticky are together, so that's good. There's save content. I'm not entirely sure what that does, but that's another issue. And yeah, I think that's probably the one change I would want to make.
So
I believe that's just the default order from core. It's just that the delete option has been moved to the bottom instead of the top. Otherwise, everything should be as is in
okay.
core.
so Benji, is this a good time for me to interject a couple of opinions?
Sure.
The first is I am not fond of any action being there by default. Let's just say we do make content sticky, and that's what it defaults to. You have no way from this page of knowing that you've accidentally applied to something. And for a lot of new users, trying to track down how to undo what they just did when it's not visible is obviously not as bad as deleting content in bulk, but it's still a very negative experience if they don't know what that means or where to find it or how to undo what they just did. And so I would personally prefer that it has a null where it says some message like pick your action. And I think that would be like the first place I would start. The second thing that I'm concerned about is VBO in particular allows users to add additional actions. And so if we go through and we do some sort of customized grouping or sorting of these particular default actions, I'm curious what happens when you add other actions in.
I can answer part of that, which is that, as Antonia said, it is configurable.
Okay, so when you add it in, then you just change the ordering, and that's all well and good. So not a big deal.
Yeah, let me just, with my browser tools, see if I can put something in. Oops, I didn't. So roughly speaking, this is what you're suggesting, and Marina agrees that we should have the default be nothing, so that if you accidentally click the apply button, some sort of error message will come up saying that you have to choose something from the list before it works. So let's see. Tiago Tejera asks, would it be great if these options were in an opt group? I'm not sure what difference that would make. And Andre's says in chat that he was going to suggest making published content the default, but he actually agrees with Thomas's idea. And Tiago Timayochi also agrees that Thomas's ideas is good. Okay, so before we go on to any other questions, are there any opposing views? Does anyone not like the idea of making nothing the default?
I wonder if save content, which is already in there, can be used as a nothing option, sort of, because all it does is just saving the node. It doesn't change anything in particular, does it?
Well, as I said, I'm not sure what the point of that action is. And remember that Drupal does allow modules to implement hooks. So stuff can happen automatically when content is saved, depending on what modules you have on the site.
Yes, that's a pretty common use case with adding a new field to a content type, which has a certain default value. And you might have to update all the existing nodes to get the default value in there. I think I've had this a few times.
So save content is not a do nothing operation. That would be different from
That's correct.
from the do nothing option.
It also, hi everyone, it also potentially creates new revisions. So you could randomly see loads of revisions being created and be like, oh, where did these come from?
Right. So I think we can't use save as a stand-in for do nothing. I don't hear any other objections, so feel free to speak up if you think of something. But for now, let's say that we'll definitely recommend making the default do nothing. Let me look at the page where this view is configured. So the content page is created by a view. I think there's actually a fallback if views is not enabled, but let's not go there. So here we have admin structured views, and then the view that creates admin content. And here's the that first column, which creates the checkboxes, the node operations bulk form. And again, this is with the patch applied. We now can select, well, we could always select which operations would be available, but now we can also click and drag them. So yeah, just for kicks, let me demonstrate that it works. And I'll put promote and remove from front page together. I'll put publish and unpublish content together. I will select everything except save content because I don't know why you would want to save content. Oh, there's an easier way to do that. So we have these standard two options at the top, either everything except the ones I've selected or only the selected actions. So let's try applying that and save the view. And I'll do a force reload of the page. I guess I'm familiar with it, but maybe I should mention that browsers like to preserve the state of a form when you reload the page. If you force reload the page, then they go back to the defaults. And so now we no longer have the save option because I removed that, and we've grouped the opposites together with delete at the very bottom. So any comments on the editing view part of this patch?
I have a question. It's, about these options. Can we in all these actions we can put some kind of identification of critical words, like always when we see the word remove, delete, that it's a kind of critical action, we can put something alerts for this, or what do you recommend?
I'm afraid I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you suggesting that we use some word other than remove or delete?
No, I'm looking for the problem is when the user click on the option deleted. So once it deleted to apply, I would like I would like to know if we can do something about the critical words in actions. So we can look in when you put the hook actions. I don't know if it can do it. So if we make a hook that's verify this kind of critical words, like delete or remove, when we find it, if we can put some alerts before the action.
I'm sorry, put some what's before the action?
If we can identify these words using a hook, and when we identify these words before after the click, if we can put some alerts that's like a confirm action.
Oh, a confirmation step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually I don't see that. There should be an option to confirm. Maybe that's something provided by the contrib views bulk operations module.
Yeah, I think in the older, before it was in core, the Fuller module did something along those lines, but they may have left that code in the contrib, as you stated.
Yeah, I'm sure that I've done that. And I think you get that option if you install the contrib module. So what did I just do?
Did you sorry, because I joined a bit late, but did you demonstrate what happens when you use the delete action? Because I thought actually you would get a confirmation form saying, do you want to do you want to do this? Or is it does not even for delete?
Well, let's give it a try. I don't think I actually deleted anything.
But there is a confirmation step when you try to delete a single node. Maybe there is one here as well.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought I saw something in like the entity API for this. So yeah, that's what I was expecting. So I wonder if that's not the case for other actions then. Like if you were to go back and do sticky or something more basic, if it doesn't provide that step. Yeah, so there's some inconsistent behavior going on there.
So I guess that's defined by the action.
Yeah. I suppose that could be like a follow-up issue, because it would be, that would solve at least one of those issues of like you not, accidentally, even if you accidentally select the wrong action, at least you get like a confirmation step. But also I do think I agree with the earlier point that Thomas made about just don't have an action selected by default, have like a choose an action or none or something.
If I can mention this real quick, I'm looking at Jin right now, and what they did there is they hide the whole action button and the select in there, and they blend it in with JavaScript only if you select an item. So there is no way to accidentally click on that without having selected something. I wonder how Claro does it. I don't have a Claro site running right now.
Oh, I can install Claro and make it the admin theme. I know that Jin is based on Claro.
Yes, yes.
So it's possible that we'll get the same behavior here. All right, so we don't see that behavior. The button is
Must be a Jin
available.
thing there.
So that's what happens if we try to reply without having selected any items. Presumably we would get something similar if we had an empty option here and put the button. So I'm going to say that the question of confirmation steps is outside the scope of this. It's currently controlled by the actions, and if you'd like to make that configurable from the view, I wouldn't even call it a follow-up issue. I would possibly a related issue. And of course, first you'd have to search and see whether there's already an open issue. Someone may already have made that suggestion. One little thing that I don't like is that this takes up so much room, and I guess maybe having now installed Claro, I should reload the page and see what it looks like in Claro theme. Oh, it needs some work.
Whoops.
Yeah, it still takes up a lot of room. And let's see, I think even though Claro is experimental, I think this is still enough of a problem that they have to do something about this. So I'm going to leave this window open so that I can take a screenshot later and add it to the issue. So that's too bad. So that's something that definitely needs to be fixed. And if we just look at the issue, there are already several screenshots on the issue. So using the 7 theme, this is what it looks like before the patch is applied. And you see these options are fairly compact. And this is what it looks like with the patch applied. So they're taking up a lot more room, which I think is a slight drawback, but not enough of a problem, in my opinion, to block the issue. It would be nice if we could make it a little more compact. So we're getting close to halfway through the hour. Is there anything else to be said on this issue? I'm happy to summarize our discussion. and make a comment on the issue. Is there anything else to be said? Okay, so I guess three things, excuse me, three things to consider are one, it needs a little more theming work to work in Claro. Two, we would like to have a nothing option by default. And three, there should be some discussion of what the right order is. And I guess, let's see, do we have screenshots of that? Yeah, I think earlier, excuse me, earlier Antonius said that the only change in the order was putting delete at the bottom. But according to these screenshots, and I think I'm the one who added these screenshots, so I trust them. Before delete is at the top, and then sticky, unsticky. Oh, promote and remove are not together. So maybe the only change is make content sticky, unsticky, promote, publish, save, remove, unpublish. So you're right, Antonia. The only change that has been made is moving delete from the top to the bottom. So maybe I will suggest a follow-up issue that that the opposites should be grouped together, but I don't think that has to be done as part of this issue. And well, I don't know, what do other people think? Should, do you agree with me that that publish and unpublished should be together? That promote to front page and remove from front page should be put together?
Yeah, I mean, I
agree to that.
Okay. And I'm wondering where the existing order comes from. It's almost alphabetical, except that save content comes before remove content. That I am curious why that happens, but I'm not going to spend time on the meeting talking about that. Oh, and I see in the chat that people agree with me that grouping the opposites together is a good idea. Okay, I will suggest it, and if the people working on the issue are interested in doing it as part of this issue, that's fine. If they want to make a follow-up issue for it, that's also fine with me. Great, so we're about halfway through the hour. Who joined us since I last read out the names? I think just Aaron McHale. And then I guess we can take a look at some of these other issues that Derek requested, unless Aaron or, oh, Kimberly, I don't think you were on the call before either. Kimberly Amaral. Are there other issues people would like to bring up? So let's at least look at the first of these issues. I think I may have looked at it a week or two ago. So this is issue 3258782. Do not display obsolete modules at admin/modules. No, this doesn't look familiar. I guess I haven't looked at this before. So if you have a module that is listed as obsolete and you try to install it, according to this, you get an error message. The website encountered an unexpected error. Please try again later. With some sort of obsolete extension, exception, unable to install modules, module obsolete, module test is obsolete. And it tells you what line of code it was on and stack trace. And to reproduce this, you have to create a test module and set the lifecycle obsolete in its info file, and then try to install it through the user interface. And the proposed resolution, an obsolete module must not be installed, so the solution is to hide any obsolete modules from the user interface. See comment 13 for more information. Obsolete modules will not be visible at the extend page at all. However, in case an update to uninstall such a thing either wasn't properly released or hasn't been run, obsolete modules are still visible at the uninstall form. So if a site owner needs to manually remove such a module, they still can. So let's look at these additional screenshots before and after. So here, before the patch is applied, the module appears on the extend page, for installing modules. It comes with a warning that it's obsolete, and if you click that link, I think it goes to some page which can be configured by the module. And after, it is just not visible from the page. So I guess the current behavior is that it's listed here. You can try to install it, and if you do, you get that ugly error message. And the proposed resolution is to remove it entirely from the user interface. Any questions about the problem or the proposed solution?
I might have a question. I'm not sure. I've already looked at the issue, and are there any plans to change also the uninstall page? Because for the
Sorry, you seem to have lost your audio connection somehow. Like Zoom shows your microphone is active, and I think you were talking, but something went wrong. Again, feel free to type in the Zoom chat if you'd like. So Ralph was asking about the proposed change, whether any changes were to be made to the uninstall page. And from reading the proposed resolution, it looks like no, they're not proposing to make a change to uninstall. Go ahead.
Sorry, my connection dropped.
Yeah.
And it might be helpful if those obsolete modules get displayed at the top of the uninstall list. So at the first, that only the obsolete modules are listed, and underneath in alphabetical order the rest of the available modules installed.
So you're saying rather than hiding them on the mod?
No, it's okay on the module page to prevent, in the list page to prevent obsolete modules to get installed or try to get installed and running in that error page. That is totally reasonable. But on the other hand, there's also on the status page an alert that, for example, obsolete modules are installed and should be removed. But on the uninstall page, there's no guiding for the user which modules should be uninstalled. And also the case if a module is obsolete and has other modules installed dependent on that module, which became obsolete, is also probably a scenario that should be taken into consideration, in my humble opinion.
Okay, so one thing I'm sure of is that Derek posted several issues, and it's possible that one of them deals with that. And I think he wants to keep the issues relatively small rather than make lots of changes in a single issue. So this one, 3266397, is to highlight non-stable modules on the admin modules uninstall form. And I think this is pretty much what you were just suggesting. Am I right?
I haven't seen that yet. I have to read through, but scanning through it, the screenshots refer just to the modules list page.
Yeah, this issue is still active. It doesn't have a patch. So,
oh, okay.
So I guess someone could make a mock-up, but they can't yet make an after screenshot. So the resolution is to say, well, we already do this on the install page. Let's do the same thing on the uninstall page. So yeah, I think there's already a separate issue, this issue, to do what you were suggesting.
Okay.
The only difference, if I understood right, Hoff was suggesting to make all these modules to place all of them at the beginning of the page, right?
Yes, place it prominently at the top of the list, though, that the person dealing with the uninstall procedure sees there are modules became obsolete and still installed.
Yeah, so this seems to be a difference because apparently the proposed solution here is just to give this this markup, like this warning sign. Apparently it isn't the ref proposition. Sorry, sorry, my lack of
resolution.
Proposed resolution, thanks, is a bit different.
Yeah, so the issue title is pretty generic. It just says to highlight them. It doesn't say how. The current proposed resolution is to make this change. I think if you'd rather have them in a separate group, that's something you could discuss on this issue as an alternative resolution. So far, Derek, TWW, is the only one who has commented on this issue. Shall we discuss that? I guess this is one of the issues he'd like us to talk about. So Ralph, do you still like your idea of grouping better than the idea of highlighting?
Highlighting is also okay if it's it saves a bit of work and the issue could land faster that way. It's also okay, but I think by placing obsolete modules and dependencies of that modules more prominently might communicate a more pressing need to deal and to solve and uninstall those. And if you have a long list of modules and you have just those exclamation marks in obsolete statement in the list, within the list somewhere, it might be overseen that way.
Okay, and let me mention Offer Shal has also joined the meeting. Thanks for coming buffer. Let's just have a look at the relevant pages, as long as I have this site running. And let's go to the extend page. That's admin/modules. And I don't have any obsolete modules, so I can't really figure out what would happen. But of course, the page is already grouped by package, lots of things in core, and then there are some other packages. And then if we go to the uninstall page, I think it's just a flat list, alphabetized. So things are grayed out. You can't select them if other modules depend on them and have to be uninstalled first. So let's see, text editor is required by CK editor. So I would have to disable CK editor before this would become available. Where CK editor presumably near the top since it's alphabetical. There. So it is a fairly long list. I guess it shows every module that's enabled on the site, and a highlight would, it's a pretty visible highlight as the screenshots show. I can go back to that issue. It's a pretty noticeable highlight, but again, it's a pretty long list, so you'd have to scroll a lot before you'd see it. So Ralph thinks it would be better to break this up and put obsolete modules at the top. Are you thinking in a separate table or just moving them to the top of this table?
I would suggest just to the top of the table, not create a separate one, or maybe I'm not sure. Both.
Anyone else?
I was looking at this and I had a thought, there's probably a number of issues with this table as it is. I mean, for instance, the fact that you have a whole lot of modules listed there that you can't do anything with because they're dependencies of other modules. To me, it doesn't make sense to have those listed within the same, all of them in just an alphabetical order. So if we were going to start organizing this table, I would further organize it by I agree with Ralph, have the obsolete modules at the top, then ones you can actually do something about, and then at the bottom, all of the ones that are currently uninstallable, is that the right word? Modules you can't uninstall because they're dependencies on something else. And whether that is 3 separate tables or one big table, maybe it would be better to have 3 separate tables because then it's more visually distinct like we have on the other page. But I think it would be worth looking at that as part of a separate issue to consider, like the wider scope of improving this table. But in general, I would support better indication of which modules are obsolete on the uninstall list.
Or how about this for a suggestion? Let's add another column to this table, so something like status, and the status could be obsolete or deprecated. Most are normal, I guess. We might also make whether or not it can be uninstalled part of the status. And then let's add click to sort. So the current default is alphabetical by name. But we could make the default sort first putting the obsolete at the top and then secondary sort by name. And then users, if they want the alphabetical list, could just click on the name and get it sorted by name. If they want it sorted by status, they can click on status. Ralph likes my idea. So in the chat, anyone else?
I can see the value in doing that. I wonder if though, is it, because there's a lot of information that's crammed into the description column. Like you've got the description, but then you've also got like all the information about what module requires what, you know, other things. So I just wonder if we're, by adding another column to this page, like, are we reducing the amount of, we're obviously going to be reducing the amount of horizontal space available to the description column. And I'm just wondering if that's a worthwhile trade-off to add another column, or if we should, or if the pattern that's currently used on the list page is fine with like the status showing like under the module name. But again, like, again, I think there's some value in being able to sort it. But then you can't really do the same with this list page either. So I would also be a fan of trying to keep these pages as consistent as possible with each other.
So they're already somewhat inconsistent. The list page has all these collapsible groups, which are all expanded by default, which sometimes I think is the wrong choice, but and the uninstall page does not have those groups. The uninstall page currently has columns uninstall, the checkbox column, name and description. The list page doesn't have labels, but I guess it has basically the same three. The operations, the name. Oh, look, we actually have deprecated modules now. And the description, which shows up as a details element. So uninstall does not use details element. I think that's by design. So, you know, I actually want to go back to 7. And let me duplicate this tab so I can still switch back and see what it looks like. And now reload it to see what it looks like in the 7 theme. There we go. I'm sure there's an issue to update Claro to add an icon there. That hasn't happened yet. So I'm sorry, I got distracted by looking at this in the 7 theme. Where were we? Aaron, you were saying that you want to keep consistency.
Well, it was kind of just like, I was like, there's a lot of similarities here, but not a lot of consistency in these 2 pages. But then I think there's probably reasons, like you said, we probably want to highlight the dependencies more so on the uninstall page. I guess because like you need to know that to uninstall some modules, or again, I've read this just like off the top of my head, so I'm also like second guessing myself as I'm saying these things. So but I think we do need I think there's some good ideas here, and maybe we just need to have to sort of like have some additional issues that we can use to properly hash these out and see what works, what doesn't work, kind of thing. Because I feel like we're not gonna, you know, we're only 8 minutes off the end of the meeting, so I feel like we're probably running close to how much we can do here.
Right, and a few people are, or at least one person is already dropping off the meeting. So yeah, let's plan to leave a comment without leaving a recommendation, and let's also have a look at the list of issues. These are all related. So we've looked at the first two. Do not display obsolete modules on admin modules. The second one that we've been discussing now is how to highlight the non-stable modules on the uninstall form. The next issue is that the extensions placeholder, not extension names, printed on the status report warning about obsolete extensions. And this postponed issue, add a link to the status report warning about obsolete extensions so site owners can fix the problem. So I guess the ones we looked at are the only two issues that deal with the install form and the uninstall form. So yeah, I agree we're not going to come to a resolution on this. Any further ideas on the things we've talked about, or should we have a quick look at one of these other issues?
I'm just kind of wondering why the last one there is postponed. I wonder if it's postponed on one of the other ones.
Probably. I guess it was created as postponed.
Oh, so probably a follow-up to that one then.
Ah, yes. So it looks like it's a follow-up to one that we haven't looked at yet. So he wants to get that one committed first, and that one's already RTBC. So maybe that'll happen. So I guess just for the sake of the reporting, what I'm looking at is 326-6449. Add a link to the status report warning about obsolete extensions so site owners can fix the problem. So I guess it's an update to the status report. Okay, we don't have to extend our meeting to the very end of the hour. I think we're at a pretty good stopping point. Any last words before we sign off? So again, I think for the two issues that we looked at, I think we agree with the solution on that first issue. Do not display obsolete modules. Like, don't give people an option to generate an error. And we have some thoughts, but not yet a real recommendation for what to do with the uninstall form. Does that sound about right?
Yep.
Okay, and Thiago Teixeira says it's okay with me. Great, well, thank you all for participating. We'll do it again next week. And again, if you haven't been on this meeting before, then please either comment on the issue or send me your Drupal.org username in Slack so that I can give you credit for attending the meeting. And thanks and bye.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thanks, Benji.
Okay, goodbye. Have a
Thanks,
great
bye.
weekend. All.